Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Today's video is a departure from my regular home decor videos to share with you a very in-demand, around the house and around my neighborhood recipe. I have spent a few months in the kitchen trying to figure out the perfect combination of ingredients to create a dessert that is both healthy and that my whole family loves. And I finally perfected it, and today I'm going to share it with you. Many of you may know that I have Lyme disease and my husband has celiac disease, and we are very careful about what we put into our bodies to make sure that we can have optimal health, and we are also mindful of what our children eat. This is a cake that you will not feel guilty about feeding your kids. It has no refined sugar, it doesn't have gluten, and it is even vegan. So without further ado, I am going to show you how easy it is to throw this cake together. It will have a moist finish with a caramel taste without being overwhelming, and you are going to love it. I made this cake for my son's birthday party, and every kid wanted seconds. It doesn't last even 2 days when I make it at home. So let's get started. Okay, so we have all our ingredients ready, and I am going to start with half a cup of almond flour. I use organic blanched almond flour. And then 1 cup of gluten-free flour. You can choose any gluten-free flour. I use King Arthur's. I really like the soft texture when making cakes. Then I'm going to go ahead and just whisk these and sift them together just a little bit to get them just combined. Next, we are going to add, instead of regular cane sugar, we're using coconut sugar, and it gives this cake its wonderful caramelly taste. It's not overpowering, it's just the right level of sweetness. And like I said before, this is something that the kids just absolutely love. And we're going to continue to add our dry ingredients. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Now that everything is nice and mixed together, all our dry ingredients, we're going to start adding in our wet ingredients. I like to make 3 indentations into my mix here. And in each of these little holes, I'm going to pour in my wet ingredients. So I'm going to pour in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. This is 4 tablespoons of organic coconut oil. And I like that this recipe is very low on oil. You don't need that much, just 4 tablespoons, and that is enough to give this great moisture. And this is really going to sweeten things up. It's half a cup of maple syrup, and you're not going to have to feel guilty about consuming or giving your kids a ton of sugar, because maple syrup is one of the lowest glycemic index sweet natural sweeteners out there. So we're going to pour that right in. Okay, and finally we're going to add 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. Doesn't matter where you add that. And the vinegar combined with the baking soda, it's going to give this cake a really wonderful consistency. Very fluffy and very moist. So as we are mixing and getting everything nice and combined, we are going to start adding in some water. And you can try out about 1 cup of water. If you feel like you need a little less, just go in steps. So we're going to add, here is about 1 cup of water. I'm just going to go gradually and add almost the cup and see how this comes together. Because you want it a little bit thick, but you also want it liquidy like a cake batter so that you can pour it into your pan. This is pretty thick, so I'm going to add the remainder of my cup of water to just loosen it up a tiny bit more. And I want it just to be a little bit more thinned out than this, so I'm just going to pour maybe like 1/8 more or 1/4 cup more of water. And that should be just about perfect. because of our health conditions, we can't indulge in the traditional desserts. But after you start eating like this and you feel so much better, you're just motivated to continue to make yummy things that also feel good in your body. Let me show you. This is what we're looking for, where it's liquidy, but still a very thick, almost pancake batter-like consistency. So here I have an 8 and 11.5 Pyrex that I have already greased with a little bit of coconut oil. And I'm simply going to pour this in. Look how yummy and delicious and the beautiful rich caramel color it has. And if you don't love caramel, you should still try this recipe because my husband is not a fan of caramel and he absolutely loves this taste. I think when it works together with the almond flour and the cinnamon and the coconut sugar, everything just blends in really, really yummy so that it is not in any way an overpowering taste. So we're going to smooth this out. Nice and creamy. So now we have poured in our beautiful cake into the Pyrex and we're going to put it into the oven. It is set at 350 degrees. And we are going to cook that up for 30 minutes. It has been 30 minutes and the cake is finished baking. I cannot describe to you how wonderful the smell is in the home with the combination of coconut sugar and maple syrup and almond flour. It smells divine. So we are now going to take this beauty out. Yum, yum, yum. Look at this beautiful cake. Now I'm going to show you how to quickly whip up some icing to finish up the magic. So now we are going to use these simple ingredients to make our icing. This is just going to be a thin syrup of icing. We're going to put the stove level on low between 1 and 2, just under medium. And we are going to start by adding in a 1/4 cup of coconut sugar. And the coconut sugar is going to start melting a little bit in there. You're just going to leave it on low heat. And while that's working, we are going to add about 2 teaspoons of coconut oil. The coconut oil is going to help to get everything kind of liquidy and to prevent the coconut oil from sticking and burning to your pan. I'm going to put this more on medium-high now to allow this to just start melting a little bit. But this is super quick to make. It is a wonderful consistency and substitute for a really unhealthy, sugary icing. My kids really love it and it adds just a perfect finish to the cake. You could even opt to not use this, but I really like the moisture that it adds. It's kind of a sauce that goes on top of the cake. So we're going to mix this until you see it get combined with the oil, a little bit crumbly and moist. Now I'm going to add about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of cinnamon, just to give it a little extra spice to it. Next, we're going to add our 1/4 cup of maple syrup. You don't want this to burn. I'm going a little slower as I'm demonstrating, but really this you can make in about 3 minutes. Already it's looking like the saucy consistency that we want. If it's a little bit more lumpy for you, or if you just want to reduce the sweetness a little bit, you can add a bit of soy milk or almond milk or oat milk, anything that you want to use. You can even use water. You're going to see it start to bubble a little bit. Just whisk it a little bit more, and that's it. It's ready, you guys. Now we are going to pour it onto our cake. Just get it all nice around. It really is like a syrup. It's just very light and liquidy, but it has a whole lot of flavor. In case you want a little bit more sweetness, my kids love it, and it really goes a long way in adding moisture to this cake. It's already pretty moist, but you're going to see how your mouth just melts into every bite. So I would let this cool down a little bit before we give it a taste test. So now we're going to test this beauty out, and I'm going to get a big scoop on my spoon and give it a taste. It is so moist. It sticks to the roof of my mouth. It is just so rich and dense without being overly sweet, overly powering. You can even make it less moist by adding a little bit more flour or less water. But for me, this is the perfect consistency. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to subscribe for more home and lifestyle videos.